Hey, we got Hugh Jackson in the green room. Al, do you mind if we drop you out here for a second? You can hang out in the green room here. We're going to bring on Hugh.
We're bringing in Hugh Jackson.
Hugh.
What's up, Hugh?
What's going on, man?
Look at you, man. You look good.
Hey, you do too, buddy. Like you can still play.
Oh, no, I can't play.
On the
Them days is over.
On the sticks.
I can coach it, though. I
can help
you
I
out.
know you know how to do that too.
I can help you out now.
Yes.
Where you at these days?
I'm helping over at Georgia State.
Okay, you're over there with Clay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How'd you guys do yesterday?
We won. We beat Chattanooga yesterday.
Yep. We beat Chad yesterday.
So Hugh, we're doing this watch party. We've got a whole bunch of people watching, and we just want to sort of break down what coaches are thinking about, what players are thinking about in these games. Like what goes through your mind? Because there's just so much. You know, you were a head coach and known for spreading the field. You know, like what goes through your mind in a 2-minute drill? Right now, the Broncos about to get the ball back with 42 seconds left. They've scored 1 touchdown and 2 safeties.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you got a rookie quarterback. What
as you know, it's right before the half. So, you know, you want to get points, but you also want to make sure that you don't put your team in a position where the other team get points. So you got to do everything you can and manage that the right way. How many timeouts do you have? Where is the ball? You know, is my offense playing, you know, pretty well or not? Is their defense hot or not? You know, and then it becomes a game of matchups in those situations. Can I create something to get a big play, you know, and then play into my timeouts? Or do I need to make sure we get in at halftime and make the right adjustments to come out and play good the second half?
All right, rookie quarterback, first game in a loud stadium.
Well, that's tough. A loud stadium. You got to be very smart, you know, because again, you don't want to put your team in a position, but sometimes, you know, when you have a young quarterback, you got to find out what he can handle and what he can't handle, right? So there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of different things that goes through the mind of the head coach as he's in those situations.
Now, all right, so Hugh, 30 seconds left. Broncos have the ball on the negative 40. So what you're saying, we need 18 yards?
Oh, yeah, 18 to 20. If we can get 20 yards, boy, we got a chance to kick a field goal.
We got a chance to kick field goal. Now, Hugh, you do know usually a lot of coordinators have like their first 2-minute call, that coverage that's always starting to drive for them. Are you usually trying to call something to beat that coverage because you know that's coming? Or you're just trying to get the ball out of your quarterback hands to get them going?
No, you just said it. You normally have those calls because the teams have been practicing those, right? This is the first game of the regular season. So you want to start off the same way you have as you've practiced, and hopefully that strategy works. But you want to get that quarterback in a rhythm as fast as you can.
Yeah, all right, so Hugh, what's your play? What's your go-to 2-minute drill play first down?
It's probably a bench route with a flat. So we're going to try to make sure we have something that's going towards the sideline. You know, if we need it so we can catch it and get out of bounds. But the quarterback's got to be prepared to run, too, and throw away if you need to.
Not a high-low there. That's a high-low for you, Pete.
Absolutely.
That's a high-low call there.
Shiner route. We call those shiner routes, right?
Shiner routes.
But you're on the headset with your quarterback. How you're giving him the play, and then you're saying, if it's not there, check it down. If it's not,
absolutely, you just said it, Peter. So that's the fun part about, you know, it's really infiltrated the college game now too. You can talk to the quarterback up until 15 seconds, and then it shuts off. So you're trying to give him those little nuggets, but sometimes some coaches can talk to him too much. You can't tell them everything. You know, that's the preparation during the week.
Right. So you want to talk to him, and when he gets shut off, but like you say, how much can he process?
Absolutely.
How much can he? All right, so now we got 3rd and 9, 19 seconds left.
Hey, he just missed the dig route. He threw it behind him. He throws it in front of him. He has a chance. Cortland had a chance to catch it, though.
How many timeouts does Denver have?
Nothing.
0.
It's tough.
0
at this time.
Okay. Well, they got a chance to get a completion, go up and clock it if they can make a first down, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably what Sean is thinking. Can we get a first down here, then go up and clock it and put ourselves in position to kick the ball?
Now, another thing, though, he was too, right, as a head coach, you talk about, now obviously it's 19 seconds, but if it's a little bit more time on the clock, you're also getting the ball back in the second half. So you talk about
Mhm.
like 10-point swings, 14-point swings, right?
Yes.
We score here and then we score coming out in the second half. That's a 10 to 14-point swing that absolutely changes the game tremendously.
Changes it fast, and people don't understand that those last 2 minutes or 3 minutes,
Oh, yeah.
that oh wow, I just heard it must have been a big play.
Yeah, that happened for us yet.
Chargers over the Raiders.
Sorry,
You.
I'm here.
Good
The
ball,
Chargers
good
are over
catch,
the
and
Raiders,
got out
huh?
of bounds. Yep, good ball, good catch, got out of bounds in field goal range.
Yep.
Here comes your 10-point swing that we're talking about right now. They can,
There it is,
There
CJ.
it is.
they're in, because Denver does get the ball right to start the second half. They just had a great catch that they're putting on their own 29-yard line, 28-yard line.
Who
Trying
did
to
they
take them
throw?
out of bounds, and now
Who
that
did they
13
throw?
seconds.
Who did they
Threw it
throw
to
it to?
Reynolds. Threw it to Reynolds.
To Reynolds? Okay, there you go. I
All right,
mean,
Now-
wait. All right, so you got the ball in the 22, 13 seconds left. You take some shots in the end zone?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
got
did.
Yeah,
to.
yeah. You'll get one or two. You'll get at
Oh
least
yeah,
one
you
or
get
two.
Oh, come on.
definitely get
Got
two.
it. He's open.
We got the commentator in the back before we
I
can
love
call
it. She's on top of it. She's on it. But how about your man Mixon today, Peter? What a game.
Man, Joe
Oh,
looked
my.
good, didn't he?
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I mean, if I'm the Bengals, I'm pissed. I hate to say that. I can say that, but come on, this guy just carried about 30 times for over 150.
I'm telling you.
And when
and a
did that
tug,
happen?
and he ran violently.
Yes, I bet he did. Boy, what a game.
As my agent, I told Pete, in my whole 9 years, how you don't set me up in a running situation like that?
That's-
Now, granted, I got to play with Peyton Manning and I got to learn a lot, but I would
Right.
love to have 30 totes a game for
Wow.
at least.
I mean, he's
16
he's
weeks.
just getting started, CJ. That's what he's doing.
But Hugh, how much? Because everybody thought you're this passing guru or whatever. But in your mind, how important is it to wear the other team down with running the
Oh,
ball?
it's so important, especially in the National Football League. You got to have a semblance of a running game to have the quarterback play well. And I don't think people get that and understand that. You got to be able to have that threat of being able to run the football at a high level.
So do you have to like pinch yourself? Like I know we're passing well. I know we're passing well. Run the ball. Run the ball. Do you have someone to
yeah.
remind you?
Yes, because in the fourth quarter, that's where you win the game, right? I mean, and when you've worn these teams down and you've grinded on them, especially these great pass rushers, where they have to play the run, for the more of the day, and these guys are getting chopped and cut and pushed and all those things, then all of a sudden people understand why you have to run the ball. Because if not, those guys in the fourth quarter, they're pretty fresh and they're going to beat you.
Right. But in the fourth quarter, if you're running the ball, that 180-pound corner is going to sit there and say, well, yeah, I came up and hit Joe Mixon in the first half. I'm fine.
That's
Third
right.
quarter, he's arm tackling him.
Peter, what we call those, Peter, is business decisions.
Business decisions.
That's right.
I've heard a lot of corners tell me.
That's right.
I heard a lot of corners yell at their linebackers.
That's
Safeties
right.
yell at their linebackers. Get CJ before he gets going. I've heard
That's
a lot
right,
of
because I'm
those.
not touching that rolling locomotive coming up. Like when CJ be running through there, man, people used to be like, that ain't happening.
Hugh, that's so funny.
So, all right. So, Hugh, all right. 13-9. Okay. Your offense had 61 yards passing. What are you doing at halftime? Break down that 15
And you get the
minutes.
ball. And you get the ball coming out of the half for that.
But
Oh, no, we-
I mean,
we
as
gonna
the
make-
head coach, what are you doing? You going in talking to coordinators?
I'm going in and talking to the staffs first. You just said it, and see what adjustments we have to make. How do we get this offense moving in a different directions? And obviously, it's about adjustments. And it might be as much as Bo Nix might need to run the ball more in this game. You might need to pull out some zone read runs for him because he's talented with his legs. And so you just find those things. But when it's his first game, you try to do everything you can to lessen the anxiety for him, right? I mean, it's big game for him. But at the same time, you're trying to win. So you got to do what you got to do. And you might tell him, hey, 6 or 7 times this second half, we're going to put the ball in your hands and let you run with it. You got to go run for 2 first downs on third down, and we might call 5 other design runs for you to create some run opportunities here.
So, but as an offensive head coach, are you going in and are you talking to the defense coordinator? You're saying, no, he's fine. We've given up 100 yards in total offense, 2 safeties. I'm just going to let Vance do his thing. Are we huddling? What?
No, we all huddle together first and see if there's something that Vance wants to do different. Boy, is there something else we can do to shut him down even more? And then I might tell Vance, hey, look, we're going to take some chances here to score some points. You know, we're going to take some shots. We're going to take some opportunities. And he says, hey, coach, gotcha. You know, and away you go.
Oh, what a kick.
So are you at this point then, you go in, you meet with the coaches, you meet with the offense. Head coach also has to motivate. Head coach has to set the tone.
Mhm.
Are you addressing the whole team at halftime?
Yes, sir. Before we go back out, you know, just saying what we need to do to go finish the game, you know, the right way. So I think it's important to let the coordinators, you know, have their time and their say, but then the head coach has to pull it all together and they go follow the leader.
And at
Now's
some point during all this too, the trainer's coming up and giving you the injury report.
Yes,
Yep.
and so we try to do that as I'm talking to the whole offense and defensive staff there, because if there's a player down, if there's, you know, an injury, or can a
Those
guy
adjustments can be
return,
made
all
too.
those things,
Yep.
you got to have all that information.
Now, as an offensive minded coach,
Where is the picture?
It's showing.
plays that you had that were successful, how many of those that you're trying to repeat that you didn't get a chance to repeat in the first half? And then how many plays that you have, whether it's run or passes, where you're like, I got to get to that based on what we're seeing coverage wise, or based on what we're seeing in the front, right? Whether it's an over and under odd, based on what we're seeing in the front and what we do well, I got to get to call that because I didn't get a chance to call that. How often are those thoughts happening?
That happens a lot, CJ, because as you know, maybe a play you were just about to call, you ended up in a different situational standpoint. It might have been a third down, you know, when you were going to call this call on mixed down.
Yep.
You know, and then there are some shots that are still on your sheet because, you know, in the second half, you got to save a few things that the team hadn't seen. And I think it's so important. I'm not a big proponent of repeating plays.
Okay.
Run plays I am, but not
For sure.
pass plays.
Not pass plays. I'm the same way.
But I just think people see them, you know, and they start to play them. But I think it's so important. These defenses are too good
Yep.
for you to do the same thing. So you got to have a little imagination and be able to put your team in position to be successful.
Yeah, I'm the same way in the pass game too. I mean, it's just a bigger variety. Like all the run games, whether it's gap scheme, man scheme, zone scheme, at some point.
Right.
But in the pass game, there's a lot of variety. Now, I want to move to a question with college. Obviously, a lot of the you can see a lot of the college game kind of influencing the NFL game as it's moving forward. My question for you though is, because of the protections, I still think the protection and how you protect, right? Whether that's 6-man protection, 7-man protection, 8-man protection, right? Whether that's Mike base protection or slide protection. How does the protection differ from where you're at in the NFL and then where you're at to college, and then also trying to help some of your college colleagues who probably don't have an NFL background to understand certain blitzes that's come? Because I know when I was at Rice, I'm like, we can pick this up if y'all really want to pick this up, we can pick this up. But you know, when you have a boss, you kind of let them like, all right, you got it. I gave you my idea, but we can. I'm telling you, we can pick this blitz up.
CJ, you said it because there's always some defensive players that are probably a little bit better than some of your offensive linemen, and you know how to jerry-rig the protection as they think it is in order to rather sideboard chip, turn the protection to a guy, handle the double A gap issues. You know how to do that, and some people don't. They've never been exposed to it. So, but you said you have to pick your spots when you can say this will work and this will not work, because again, I mean, it's we've seen it at a high level. We know what it's like to block Myles Garrett or those kind of athletes week in and week out, and so you just have to temper it because again, it's another level here, right? But at the same time, you know, the turning of the protection, the sliding of a protection, understanding when it's cover zero dog and when it's cover zero blitz, you know, makes
What's the difference?
When it's cover zero dog, you know, they're showing a cover zero and not blitzing everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just bringing
You can saw zero. You can block the 6 guys and still throw the ball. But when it's cover zero blitz, they all come in.
Yeah. Here comes at least 8, 7 or 8. Like the
come.
old, what I call, at least for my introduction, it was the old Zimmer, right? Zimmer, which VJ, that's where we learned it from, right? Down there when Hugh was OC over there in Cincy. Like Zimmer will bring that 8.
That's what Zim's doing to the Browns right now, and they're up 20-3.
Yeah, that third down at 8 up, 7 up, man. That gets, when it looks the same, it gets real confusing.
Oh yeah.
Right. Thank God I had Peyton Manning who knew how to decipher that. And we worked on that in practice. We had
That's
some
right.
good coaches, Eric Studesville, and I thought Adam Gase was solid with it. But when you get that 8-up, 7-up, and it looks the same, and when you have coaches, right, and some of these defensive coaches understand, because like we talk about the West Coast offense on our preview show, right? They understand 2-jet, 3-jet protection. They actually understand what that means and what beats it, right? So when you have coordinators like Wade sends a lot of man blitz, right? He's going to play man behind and send a lot of blitz, but he also understands what beats 2-jet, 3-jet protection. So if you don't have like 68 or 58 in certain West Coast offenses to turn it and do certain things, you could catch yourself in some trouble.
Absolutely. A lot of trouble.
Hey,
So,
Coach, what do you?
Well, I'm sorry, Hugh. So here's the deal. So right now, you former head coach of the Raiders, former head coach of the Browns, non-college, Northern Illinois beats Notre Dame.
Oof.
If you're Notre Dame, how do you get them? How do you get that train back on the tracks?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is you got to own the loss, because if you don't own it, it's not gonna help you, right? And obviously, he's got to get the train back on the track fast. Obviously, I should have better players. We didn't play as well as we need to play. I got to go back and re-energize my coaching staff and our football team. Our goals are still out in front of us. Now we're going to get a bunch of noise from a lot of different places. We got to shut that down and not worry about that and go find a way this week to get better, at all the things we're doing and get back to playing football the way we can. We beat a real good Texas A&M team the week before. Now we just kind of pissed down our leg a little bit against a team that we should beat, each and every day. And so as a head coach and as a leader, you got to own that.
No, absolutely.
Go ahead,
What do you when you got like a guy like Bo Nix going into his first halftime as a professional, what are you telling him as a coach to, with a probably not the start he wanted, but not a terrible one. What are you telling him to, to keep his head up and be ready for the second half?
Oh, it's okay, because if I made that decision of playing, then I'm going to make the decision to put him in position to be successful. Everything I do in this game plan from the second half on is to make sure that he's going to be okay when we get to week 2. That he's standing and he's played well enough. So, because again, the head coach, especially if he's the play caller, he's going to set the whole mood for the team, especially with the quarterback.
Yep.
Right. So you have to do a great job. And that's why play calling, a lot of people don't think head coaches can do it at a high level. I don't believe that because I've done it. And I just think everything you do from here on in is about putting Bo in position to be successful because the team is watching. They need him to be successful.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And so if you're winning a big game, CJ's your back. He's at 165 yards. When do you pull him out of the game?
I looked at CJ, say, CJ, you had enough? And he says, no, coach, because what Peter did for me for my bonus, I need to get about another 50 yards.
See, coaches like that I love playing for. Kubiak was like that, right? Foxy was like that. So coaches like that I love playing for. Now I don't want to be rude to any coaches, but one of my coaches in my career, and if you look at my teams who I play for, you'll know he wasn't like that. But coaches like that, I enjoy playing for. I'll run through a brick wall for it.
So Coach, I'm the church basketball league guy. I never played pro sports. I'm the high school guy in coaching. But like with the contracts and that information, it's interesting that you say that with CJ, and CJ says that. Like, how much of that information about their contracts and incentives do you have that in a game basis, like game where that's, especially as you're getting towards the end of the year, that you have that information to sort of either help a player out or, as management telling you like, hey, don't let CJ hit 1,000 yards because if we do, we got to pay him, an extra $27 or something like that.
No, you just said, it happens, and it happens both ways. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to side with the players. I understand the commitment that they make and that they give to their football team. And the other thing is that information around the locker room spreads fast.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
If it goes the wrong way, it could break a team apart. If it goes the right way, it could buy you more time. That's for sure.
So, Coach, I got a question going back to the quarterback design runs. Obviously, a lot of those players that are being recruited at the quarterback position in college, you kind of want that guy who can tween and run. But obviously, like Cam Newton, right, who didn't get the chance to play as long because of the physicality of how he ran the football. How often when you're calling plays, the difference in college and the league, that you're trying to protect your quarterback as much as possible. Because even in college, your quarterback go down unless you have a really good second string, right? Lincoln Riley had one and Caleb Williams, but usually you don't. The drop off at that position is way bigger than other positions. How often are you trying to have those quarterback design runs, especially for those guys like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, who were super athletic in college and use their legs way more than what they can in the NFL?
No, CJ, I think you have to have them because that's kind of who these players are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you have to protect them, where they're exposed 15 to 18 times in the college game.
Right.
Maybe they're exposed 5 to 6 times in an NFL game.
Right.
And I think you're gonna, if you get a back that offense that can rush for 110 yards in the National Football League, you add wide receiver reverses and arounds to that.
Yep.
You add the quarterback rush to that. Well, you're one of the top rushing teams in pro
Teams in the
football.
league. Yeah, which
And,
that
and
goes a
that's
long
how,
way.
yeah, and that's how it works. And so you have to think like that a little bit. And so you use the guy's skill, but you always got somebody out in front of him protecting him. You take the tight end, you arc him, you do all those different things. But at the same time, you got to be very, very thoughtful or mindful, I should say, of what you're doing because you can't get that guy hurt.
So now I know when you were in Cincinnati, you had Gio early, you had Jeremy. You guys were super physical. How do you teach that physicality? Because you know how we practice in the NFL, different than how we practice in college. So how do you teach that physicality to get right pad level, to get these O linemen, to get these people in the league to understand when you're one of those top rushing teams, you see yourself towards the end of the year in January, February when it's trying to play for championships.
CJ, you said it. I mean, it's a mindset, right? And we talked about it and preached it every day, but our practices were very physical and non-pads. We were one of those teams that were always on the edge where the league wanted to say, you guys are going to lose some days because that's the only way to learn, you got to practice that way almost all year because you can't be in pads a lot, as you know. So you might as well learn how to do it now, and get good at it. And Marvin was great at creating that environment, and our players were great at practicing that way.
Now, what about the college game that you try to give your expertise to get them to understand it? Because now in the college game, they want to throw the ball 60 times.
You just said it. The thing that I've learned, at the college game that's so different, they don't want to tackle,
Oh, my goodness.
in training camp. And I get it, but you got to find out about your team before you ever get them to play.
Say it all the time.
So I believe in tackling. I mean, football is a game of tackling. You can't be a good tackling or blocking team unless you block and tackle.
Block and tackle.
So you have to do those. Yeah, you have to do those things. I don't want to find out on game day what the guys are going to do. I need to already know what they can do.
So coaching, like being week one, you've had a lot of week ones. Like, what's usually keeps you up at night before the first game?
The thing that keeps me up at night is probably not knowing exactly what the other team wants to do, right? Because preseason is the preseason. Boy, there's going to be some look from a third down situation. Situational football is where you win in the National Football League. And so you have to be great at third down. Boy, what is going to be different about third down? What's going to be different about short yardage? Because short yardage is a place where in the National Football League you can score touchdowns. And so you have to make sure that those things are locked in right. And those are the things that would keep me up.
Yeah, one thing with us, Rob, just to piggyback off that, right? 2nd 14 for the Broncos right now, too. But one thing about us, I love playing, right? Whether it was Green Bay with Don Capers or Pittsburgh with Dick LeBeau or Cincinnati with Mike Zimmer. Because you can sense, right? They've been in the league for so long, even when Wade was in Dallas, right? You can sense of what you're going to get because they've been doing it for so long. Mm-hmm. It's kind of these new coordinators like Mike McDonald, right? Or like Ryan Grubbs on the offensive side of the ball, where you're like, they don't have too much NFL experience, but then they also don't have a lot of crazy coaching experience where they have a thumbprint like some of these other coordinators where you're like, we know this thumbprint, we know where we're going to get on third down, we know where we're going to get right first, second 1 to 6 or second 7 to plus. We kind of understand what we're going to get. Right? Like Sean Payton will be a lot easier to game plan for the Seahawks than what Ryan Grubbs was on the other side for the Broncos, just because Sean Payton has a thumbprint. You can go back that same call he made in New Orleans, he making that same call in Denver, right?
Yes,
that same
he
call
is.
he probably made when he was offensive coordinator with the Giants is the same call back in 2000. It's probably some of the same formations, the same calls that he's doing now compared to some of these new coordinators. That's one thing that I learned later in my career, right? I always look at the schedule and try to look at coordinators and go, okay, where's this coordinator new, or did this coordinator come from a different team? Where it's like, okay, he's been a defensive coordinator for so long. But when you have those like, oh, now we made this DB coach the new coordinator, you're like, okay, I don't know what he's doing. All right. So it
But
makes
CJ,
it
is
tough.
interesting you say that because that's what pros do. They find out just like, if you're an offensive tackle, you're going to go find out all those defensive ends you're going to play, protect against.
Yep.
You want to know as much about your job as anybody. And that's the way it is when you're the coordinator. Like you say, you gotta reinvent yourself every year too. And that's where people forget, that boy, because a lot of people do stay the same. You got to change what you do because people find you out.
So Hugh,
just-
Hugh, this is one of my pet peeves, right? I hate to delay a game. It was right now. It was 2nd and 12 or whatever.
I was just going to update everybody, but go ahead. You doing it.
It's like Hugh, 2nd and 12. Bo Nix goes back. He's running through everything, and all of a sudden the play clock runs out. At some point, you just snap the friggin' ball.
You just said it. Just snap it. Sometimes you do because you can't lose that. You can't lose that penalty in that situation, and you don't want to lose a timeout in that situation. That's why everybody says that's inexcusable because that's a quarterback to coordinator, head coach, whatever that is, communication issue.
Right,
Yeah,
but
just-
at some point, isn't it the quarterback's got to have the poise to be able to sit there and always, first thing you do when you go to a visiting stadium, where's the clock?
Find
Where's
the
the clock?
Absolutely.
Find the
Yes.
clock. And then shouldn't the running back like CJ go? I mean, he should be going, Omaha, whatever.
Yes.
I've done it.
Something.
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it where it's like
Yes.
6 seconds, 6 seconds, 4 seconds. I've done it
Mm-hmm.
because I'm paying attention too, right? I mean, that's one thing I can say about Stu's, right? I love Coach E. Coach E always, hey, you're the second eyes back there, right? And especially when you're playing
Last
with a guy
line of
like
defense, baby.
especially when you're playing with a guy like Peyton, sometimes he can get into his own head and forget that he needs to snap the ball. You got to kind of remind him, like P, right? 12, especially I play. Trevor Lawrence was that way. Brock Osweiler was that way. Got to let him know, hey, 2 seconds. We need to get this off, right? Because one thing that kills drives, right? Sacks kill drives, penalties kill drives, right? We do not want to be behind the sticks. Being behind the sticks makes it a very hard play call.
Momentum is real in the National Football League, boy.
So those are unforced errors in my mind. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that on the head coach? Is that on the coordinator?
Yeah, that's it. But it's on the planning, right? We didn't equip the quarterback with that trump card in his pocket that when it is going down, what is that word or what is that play you get to in that situation?
Right, and if whatever they spotted it, whatever you notice it, you just got to get up there and if like CJ said,
Yes, sir.
Peyton's word was Omaha, some other bullet, whatever, right?
Yes, I got to get to this meeting. I'm getting the evil eyes over here.
Who's better than Hugh Jackson? Come on, let's go.
Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Hey, I
Thanks for joining
appreciate
us,
you
Coach.
guys
Good
having
seeing you,
me.
man.
I love the work you guys are doing. CJ, good seeing you. It's nice
Always.
meeting you. And Peter, I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Let's talk this week.
All right, buddy. Take care
If
now.
you get a job, I'm ready, man.
Yes, sir. Let's
know
go.
that.
Come on, Peter. Let's go.
I'm on it.
All right.